This is the Practicing Christian, and this week's report is on Blessed Are the Poor. A funny, that is funny enlightening, not funny haha, thing happened to me last night. I attended a talk by a biblical archaeologist, Jonathan Reed, from the University of Laverne. He was telling me quite articulately about the largely Jewish, partly Roman community of Sepphoris, about 4 miles north of the hamlet of Nazareth. It was the market town, the growing, happening place nearby, while Nazareth had a sort of third world existence. It all changed in a few centuries, but in Jesus' day, that's how it was. Jesus grew up in a poor family, amongst poor people, in a poor community, with signs everywhere in Sepphoris of how well-connected Jews and conquering Romans not only did very well by themselves, but gradually were foreclosing on Jewish rural properties. Excuse me. To the extent that their wealth was growing by leaps and bounds by export crops and driving the poor of the land into the cities to look for work. Nothing much is new. More or less like South America and Africa today. Only Jews and Romans aren't in the picture there. Their own local people are at it in those nations, along with plenty of international businessmen slowly driving the poor into the cities where they may be less revolting. Jesus' understanding of this is shown in such phrases as, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh." That's in Luke 6:20-21. Jesus' proclamation of the kingdom meant to them that a life of decency, dignity, and joy in the kingdom was unfolding right there, right then, for them. For Jesus had said, "The kingdom is now among you." Now, there are two ways to deal with poverty: hunger and sorrow. One is the hard way. The other one is also the hard way. Jesus' kingdom, as Dr. Reed pointed out in answer to a question, was all about personal connections between people. For example, the quote, "In fact, the kingdom of God is among you," close quote, in Luke 17:27. It's people like you inviting the poor into your homes, your communities, your lives, and loving them into a good life with God. Now, those are my words, not Dr. Reed's. Dr. Reed said that it was the hardest thing in the world to be up close and personal with other people on behalf of God. And yet my observation is that the only thing that works really effectively and over a long period of time with large numbers of people is loving people into a good life. Then there's the other way, the other hard way. Small and large ways of dealing with structural injustice. Take up a collection in your church, money, blankets, food for a poor family. Send Lady Bountiful to give it to them, but don't talk with them. Don't invite them to pray with you or worship with you. Yeah, you're right. I am being sarcastic here. It doesn't become me very well. It's also the way of organizing minority good groups like Greenpeace and major good political initiatives like the Marshall Plan and food stamps and public housing. But no one draws closer to God or to one another in thankfulness there, because there isn't the thankfulness there. It's all business. The elite and the poor are frequently even farther apart from the privileged than when the gift baskets were sent. The conquered rebuilding the hungry, fed, and the poor are often become clients of the elite, not self-sufficient, not confident, but clients of the elite. At times, as in 70 AD and 130 AD, devastating riots broke out in Judea against Rome and were put down with intense brutality. Revolution's another way of tackling structural injustice. It led to the destruction of most of Judaism in Palestine. So, what's a practicing Christian to do? The personal connection is too daunting, and the political solution is often dehumanizing. Try the personal one first, even if it is daunting. That's Mother Teresa wiping sewage off the dying people in the streets of Calcutta. It's the unsung Christian bringing the distraught home with them. If you're gifted with the political will and skill to mount a great effort for the poor, be humble enough to remember that all state-funded initiatives are to some extent corrupting. Be in prayer every moment that you may not start to believe your own nonsense. Watch out when honors are bestowed upon you. If you're not spending some time with a hammer and saw, as in Habitat for Humanity, get out there and do so. Practicing Christians want to make the kingdom of God come alive in love among people. They also want to feel good about the big efforts, which, although they're not the technique Jesus had in mind, can make the kingdom's work easier, usually. Just be sure that you remember that the next lost person you meet, however desperate and troubled she or he may be, may indeed be God giving you a pop quiz on what the kingdom really is to you. Serve then, be the king's right arm.